Have you ever wondered why some gardens explode with massive, lush growth while yours struggles, even after you dump expensive chemical formulas on it? Today, we are diving into an unbelievable ancient Korean soil trick that completely replaces store-bought fertilizers. I promise you, by the end of this video, you will learn how to unlock up to 3 times faster plant growth using nothing but simple waste from your kitchen. But before we begin, I have a quick question for you. Do you think modern chemical fertilizers are a total scam, or are they a necessary evil? Let me know your thoughts in the comments right now, because what I am about to show you might make you throw all your garden chemicals in the trash. For centuries, long before synthetic chemicals and big agricultural corporations were ever invented, farmers in Korea mastered the art of natural high-yield agriculture. They faced harsh climates, unpredictable weather, and naturally poor soils. Yet they consistently produced legendary, massive harvests. They achieved this incredible feat through a system that is now known around the world as Korean natural farming. The core secret of this ancient wisdom: they did not try to feed the plants directly. Instead, they focused entirely on cultivating indigenous microorganisms to feed the soil. By capturing and multiplying local invisible bacteria, they created a self-sustaining cycle of explosive biological growth. Today, we are going to replicate their exact ancient method right in your home. Let us talk about the biggest lie the gardening industry has been feeding you for decades. You have probably been told that to get massive, lush plants, you need to buy expensive, brightly colored chemical fertilizers. We have all seen those plastic bottles lined up at the garden center, promising miraculous results. But what if I told you that you are pouring your hard-earned money straight into the dirt? Imagine a simple, completely natural alternative that has been used for centuries. A method so effective that it can literally triple the growth rate of your plants. This is not some futuristic laboratory invention. It is an ancient Korean soil trick that relies on the natural power of microorganisms. The crazy part is that you probably already have everything you need in your kitchen right now. By the end of this, you will never look at your everyday groceries the same way again. Think about the last time you bought a bag of synthetic plant food. Did it really give you 3 times the growth? Probably not. The truth is, modern chemical solutions often act like a quick sugar rush for your plants. They give a brief spike in energy, but they ultimately destroy the natural balance of your soil over time. This ancient method does the exact opposite. It builds a permanent, thriving ecosystem right under your feet. It is time to ditch the chemicals and embrace a technique that has stood the test of time. So, what exactly is this mystical Korean gardening secret? It all comes down to a practice deeply rooted in Korean natural farming, specifically the cultivation of indigenous microorganisms. But do not let those big scientific words scare you away. At its core, this trick is about capturing the good bacteria from your local environment and multiplying them to supercharge your soil. The star of the show is something you probably wash down the drain every single week. I am talking about the cloudy water left over after you rinse raw rice. Yes, you heard that right. Plain, ordinary rice wash water. For hundreds of years, Korean farmers knew that this cloudy liquid was liquid gold for their crops. They did not have access to synthetic nitrogen or lab-created phosphorus. Instead, they used the natural carbohydrates and vitamins suspended in that rice water to attract wild, beneficial microbes. These invisible helpers are the real heavy lifters in any garden. They break down dead organic matter and turn it into highly accessible plant food. Picture a microscopic army working around the clock, converting plain dirt into a rich, nutrient-dense buffet for your roots. When you introduce this rice water to your soil, you are essentially ringing the dinner bell for the best possible guests. Let us dive a little deeper into the science of why this cloudy rice water is so incredibly powerful. When you rinse a bowl of rice, the water turns milky white. That cloudiness is pure starch, along with a complex mix of minerals, vitamins, and amino acids. In the human world, it might just look like dirty water, but in the microscopic world, it is an absolute feast. Think of it as a premium energy drink for beneficial soil bacteria. In modern gardening, we often focus entirely on feeding the plant directly. We pour liquid nitrogen on the roots and hope for the best. But the ancient Korean method focuses on feeding the soil instead. The philosophy is simple. If you build a healthy, living soil, the soil will take care of the plant automatically. This is a massive paradigm shift. By using rice starch to feed the natural microbes, those microbes rapidly multiply. As they grow and consume the starches, they release enzymes and organic acids. These byproducts act like tiny chemical keys. They unlock the bound-up nutrients that are already trapped in your soil. Your dirt might be full of calcium and phosphorus, but your plants simply cannot absorb it without the help of these microbial workers. The rice water activates the dormant life in your garden beds. Now, you might be wondering why you cannot just rely on the fertilizer you bought at the store. To understand the genius of the Korean trick, we have to expose the dark side of chemical fertilizers. Synthetic plant foods are basically concentrated mineral salts. When you apply them continuously, month after month, year after year, these salts build up in your garden beds or potting soil. Have you ever noticed a crusty white layer on the top of your houseplant soil? That is chemical salt accumulation. Over time, this toxic salt buildup literally dehydrates and kills the beneficial bacteria and earthworms in your soil. It turns your living, breathing earth into dead, sterile dirt. Once the soil is dead, your plants become completely dependent on your artificial chemical feedings. It is an endless, expensive cycle of addiction. The plant gets weak, you buy more fertilizer, the soil gets worse, and the cycle continues. The Korean rice water method breaks this toxic cycle completely. Instead of adding harsh mineral salts, you are introducing soft, biological life. You are rehabilitating the earth. Picture a barren wasteland slowly transforming into a lush, vibrant rainforest. That is exactly what is happening on a microscopic level when you swap out synthetic salts for natural, microbe-rich carbohydrate solutions. Let us get practical and talk about exactly how you can start this process in your own kitchen today. The first step is so easy, you will kick yourself for not doing it sooner. The next time you are cooking rice for dinner, do not dare pour that first rinse water down the sink. Take a standard cup of raw rice, put it in a bowl, and add 2 or 3 cups of unchlorinated water. It is very important to use water that does not have chlorine, because chlorine is designed to kill bacteria, and we want to grow them. You can use filtered water, or just let tap water sit out on the counter for 24 hours so the harsh chemicals evaporate naturally. Vigorously rub the rice grains between your fingers for about a minute. You want to agitate it until the water becomes a thick, milky white color. That thick cloudiness is exactly what you are after. Carefully pour this milky liquid into a clean glass jar, leaving a few inches of empty space at the top. You have just completed the very first step of ancient Korean natural farming. It takes less than 2 minutes, costs absolutely nothing, and sets the stage for an explosive gardening revolution. Think of this jar as a blank canvas. You have gathered the fuel, and now it is time to wait for the spark of life. Once you have your jar of milky rice water, the real magic of natural fermentation begins. You do not want to seal the jar with a tight lid. Remember, we are trying to capture wild, beneficial microbes from the air, and they need oxygen to breathe and multiply. Instead, cover the top of the jar with a breathable material. A simple paper towel, a coffee filter, or a piece of cheesecloth works perfectly. Secure it tightly with a rubber band to keep out dust and curious fruit flies. Now take this covered jar and place it in a dark, relatively warm spot in your house. A kitchen cabinet or a pantry shelf is an ideal location. You want to keep it away from direct, harsh sunlight, which can easily inhibit the growth of the delicate bacteria we are trying to cultivate. Now comes the hardest part of the entire process. You have to practice patience. Leave the jar completely undisturbed for about 5 to 7 days. During this time, an unseen battle and amazing transformation is happening inside that water. Wild microbes from your kitchen air are floating down through the paper towel, landing in the carbohydrate-rich water, and throwing a massive microscopic party. They are eating the starches, multiplying rapidly, and transforming that simple liquid into a potent, living biological serum. After about a week of waiting, it is time to check on your fermentation experiment. When you open the cabinet, you are going to notice a few distinct changes. First, look at the visual transformation in the jar. The liquid will have separated into 3 distinct layers. There will be a layer of heavy sediment sitting at the very bottom. In the middle, you will see a somewhat clear yellowish liquid. And on the very top, there might be a thin film or a slightly bubbly layer. This separation is the perfect visual proof that the microbes have been hard at work digesting the starches. Next, you need to use your nose. The smell of the liquid is the ultimate indicator of success or failure. Take a gentle sniff. It should smell slightly sour, a bit sweet, and somewhat earthy. It is often described as smelling like light beer, sourdough bread starter, or mild yeast. If it smells like this, congratulations. You have successfully captured the right kind of beneficial bacteria. However, if it smells truly horrible, like rotting garbage or sewage, something went wrong. A foul odor means bad, putrefying bacteria took over. If that happens, just throw it out and start over. But 9 times out of 10, you will get that pleasant, yeasty aroma, which means you are ready for the next phase. Now that you have your fermented rice water, we need to talk about the real heroes of this ancient Korean technique. The specific microbes we are trying to isolate and multiply are called lactic acid bacteria. You might recognize that name. It is the exact same type of beneficial bacteria that turns milk into yogurt and cabbage into kimchi. Lactic acid bacteria are incredibly powerful organisms. In the soil, they are ruthless enforcers of health and perfect balance. They are highly efficient at breaking down tough organic matter and making it easy for plant roots to absorb quickly. But more importantly, lactic acid bacteria are highly competitive. They act like an elite security force for your garden. When you flood your soil with these good guys, they rapidly consume all the available resources and physically crowd out the bad, disease-causing pathogens. They create an environment that is slightly acidic and completely unwelcoming to harmful fungi and rot-causing bacteria. To get the absolute best results for our plants, we need to extract these specific lactic acid bacteria from our fermented rice water and multiply them even further. And to do that, we are going to use an ingredient that might seem very surprising for a backyard gardening project. To isolate and multiply those amazing lactic acid bacteria, we need to introduce them to their absolute favorite food in the entire world. And that food is dairy milk. Any regular cow milk from the grocery store will work perfectly for this step. Skim milk, whole milk, or 2% milk are all completely fine. The only thing you should avoid is ultra-pasteurized milk if you can, though even that will usually work in a pinch. Take a much larger glass jar or a food-safe plastic bucket. You are going to mix your fermented rice water with the milk at a ratio of 1 part rice water to 10 parts milk. So, if you have 1 cup of that sour-smelling rice water, you will gently pour it into 10 cups of fresh milk. This massive influx of lactose sugars is going to send the lactic acid bacteria into an absolute feeding frenzy. Once again, cover this new mixture with a breathable cloth or a coffee filter and secure it with a rubber band. Place it back into that dark, warm cabinet. This time, the magic happens a little faster. You will need to wait about 3 to 5 days. During this period, the bacteria will consume the lactose in the milk, multiplying their numbers by the millions and eventually billions. They are turning that ordinary milk into a concentrated biological powerhouse. When you check on your milk mixture after a few days, you are going to witness a fascinating scientific reaction. The jar will no longer look like a simple glass of milk. The lactic acid bacteria will have completely separated the milk into two very distinct parts. Floating at the very top, you will see a thick, spongy, solid mass. This solid layer is made of milk fats and proteins, and it is commonly known as the curds. Underneath that thick cap of curds, you will find a beautiful yellowish translucent liquid. This yellow liquid is the whey, and this whey is exactly what we have been working so hard to create. It is a highly concentrated serum, absolutely packed with billions upon billions of beneficial lactic acid bacteria. It is the pure, liquid gold of Korean natural farming. Now carefully remove the thick layer of curds from the top. You do not have to throw the curds away. They are totally safe and make a fantastic, nutritious addition to a compost pile, or you can even feed them to chickens or pets. Once the curds are removed, slowly pour the yellow whey through a fine strainer to catch any remaining solid bits. What you have left in your bowl is the pure, unadulterated essence of the ancient Korean soil trick. You hold in your hands the ultimate plant growth accelerator. You now have your purified lactic acid bacteria serum, but wait, do not pour it straight onto your plants just yet. This yellow liquid is incredibly concentrated and highly acidic. If you apply it directly, it will actually shock and burn your delicate plant roots. This is a common mistake that eager beginners make. The true power of this serum lies in dilution. It is so potent that a tiny amount goes a remarkably long way, making it incredibly cost-effective compared to store-bought fertilizers. The golden rule for using this serum is the 1:1,000 ratio. Yes, you heard that correctly. 1 part of your yellow serum mixed into 1,000 parts of clean, unchlorinated water. To put that into perspective, you only need about 1 single tablespoon of this serum for an entire gallon of water. Think about how incredible that is. A single mason jar of this homemade whey can literally treat an entire backyard garden for months. When you dilute it to this exact ratio, you create the perfect, gentle environment for the bacteria to wake up and spread through the soil safely. You are not trying to drown the plants in nutrients, you are simply inoculating the earth with an unstoppable army of microscopic workers. The dilution ensures the bacteria distribute evenly without overwhelming the delicate root systems. Let us talk about how to actually apply this heavily diluted magic water to your garden. There are 2 primary methods, and for the absolute best, 3 times growth results, you should use both of them. The first method is a simple soil drench. Use a standard watering can and deeply soak the soil around the base of your plants. As this liquid trickles down into the earth, the billions of bacteria go straight to work. They immediately start breaking down dead leaves, old roots, and organic matter, turning it all into highly available liquid nutrition for your plants. It is like you are pre-digesting the food for your garden. The second application method is foliar feeding. Pour the diluted mixture into a clean spray bottle and mist the actual leaves of your plants early in the morning or late in the evening. This is where the trick gets really interesting. The lactic acid bacteria will coat the surface of the leaves, creating a microscopic, living biological shield. This armor prevents harmful fungal spores, like powdery mildew or black spot, from ever taking hold on your plant. You are feeding the soil and protecting the foliage all at the exact same time. It is a brilliant 2-pronged approach that modern chemical fertilizers simply cannot ever replicate. To really understand the explosive power of this method, let me share a classic example. Imagine 2 tomato plants planted on the exact same day, in the exact same type of dirt. Plant A receives standard, expensive synthetic fertilizer from the hardware store. Plant B receives nothing but our diluted, homemade Korean lactic acid serum every 2 weeks. For the first few weeks, they might look fairly similar, but by the middle of the summer, the difference becomes genuinely shocking. Plant A, the chemically fed tomato, might look okay, but it is constantly battling pests and requires more and more water as the salts build up in its soil. Plant B, however, turns into an absolute monster. Its stalk grows as thick as a small tree trunk. The leaves are a deep, vibrant, healthy green, completely free of any disease, and the fruit production is totally off the charts. The root system of plant B has partnered with the bacteria to extract every single ounce of potential from the earth. The plant does not have to waste energy fighting off bad fungi or struggling to absorb locked-up minerals. It can pour 100% of its energy into rapid, massive growth and heavy fruiting. This is how you consistently achieve that promised 3 times growth rate without spending a dime. One of the most profound benefits of this ancient soil trick is how it handles severe soil compaction. If you have ever tried to garden in hard, dense clay soil, you know how incredibly frustrating it can be. Water pools on the surface, roots suffocate, and plants refuse to grow. Most people think they need to rent a heavy mechanical tiller to physically chop up the dirt. But the Korean method offers a biological solution instead of a mechanical one. When you consistently apply the lactic acid serum to hard soil, the bacteria get to work on the microscopic structures of the earth. As they digest organic matter, they secrete sticky, glue-like substances. These natural organic glues bind tiny dust particles together into much larger, crumbly aggregates. Over the course of a single season, you will notice a miraculous change. Your hard, compacted clay will slowly transform into soft, spongy, dark brown soil. It will hold moisture beautifully while allowing excess water to drain away effortlessly. The earthworms will return in massive numbers, further aerating the ground. You are essentially letting billions of invisible organisms do all the back-breaking tilling work for you. It is a lazy gardener's dream come true, resulting in the perfect foundation for extreme plant growth. Let us address a very common myth that holds many gardeners back. The myth is that organic gardening is always slow, expensive, and incredibly complicated. People assume that to go organic, you have to buy premium compost, expensive worm castings, and imported kelp meals. The gardening industry profits heavily from this misconception. They want you to believe that nature requires expensive products to function. But this ancient Korean trick completely shatters that illusion. The absolute beauty of this system is its extreme accessibility. It relies on the humblest, cheapest ingredients imaginable: water, a handful of rice, and a splash of milk. That is the entire ingredient list. It proves that true agricultural power does not come from a massive chemical factory. It comes from understanding and harnessing the natural life cycles that already exist around us. By using this method, you are reclaiming your independence from big garden centers. You are stepping back into an ancient lineage of farmers who worked in harmony with nature rather than trying to overpower it with synthetic chemicals. You are turning basic waste products from your kitchen into high-grade biological fertilizer. It is the ultimate form of recycling, and it yields amazing results. Now, what if you do not have a massive outdoor garden? What if your entire gardening experience consists of a few potted plants on a balcony or some tropical houseplants in your living room? The fantastic news is that this Korean soil trick works just as beautifully indoors as it does outdoors. In fact, houseplant soil often becomes dead and sterile much faster than outdoor dirt because it is isolated in a small plastic pot. Potted plants are incredibly susceptible to salt buildup from cheap liquid indoor fertilizers. By swapping out those little bottles of blue liquid for your highly diluted lactic acid serum, you will breathe completely new life into your indoor jungle. Your monstrous monsteras and pikipothos will respond with massive, rapid leaf growth. However, there is one tiny adjustment you should make for indoor use. Because the serum is a living, fermented product, it can have a very faint, sour smell right after you water it. To keep your living room smelling fresh, just make sure you dilute it thoroughly. perhaps even slightly more than the outdoor ratio, and try to water the soil directly rather than spraying the leaves indoors. Within a few short weeks, your houseplants will look greener and much more vibrant than they did the day you bought them. Let us talk about storage and preservation, because you have just created a massive batch of biological fertilizer and you probably cannot use it all at once. The yellow whey serum you extracted is full of living organisms. If you just leave it out on the counter, it will eventually run out of food, and the bacteria will die off, ruining your hard work. But the ancient practitioners of this method had a brilliant solution for long-term storage. To put the bacteria to sleep and preserve the serum indefinitely, you simply need to add equal parts of brown sugar. If you have 1 cup of yellow serum, mix it thoroughly with 1 cup of dark brown sugar. The sugar acts as an incredible natural preservative. It binds up the water molecules and forces the lactic acid bacteria into a state of suspended animation. Once mixed with sugar, you can store this sweet, syrupy liquid in a jar in your refrigerator for months, or even up to an entire year. It becomes a stable, powerful concentrate. Whenever your garden needs a serious boost, you simply take a tiny spoonful of this sugary syrup, dissolve it in your watering can, and wake the bacteria back up. It is exactly like having a magical, on-demand growth potion sitting right next to your kitchen leftovers. As you start integrating this ancient Korean secret into your regular gardening routine, consistency is the key to unlocking that promised triple growth. This is not a one-time magical fix that you apply just once a year. Remember, you are managing a living microscopic flock. You need to apply the highly diluted mixture regularly to keep the microbial population strong and active. A great rule of thumb is to use the serum every 2 weeks during the peak growing season. As you do this throughout the spring and summer, you are going to notice a wonderful compounding effect. The first application wakes the soil up. The second application builds the population. By the 4th or 5th application, your soil is practically humming with unseen energy. You will notice that you need to water your plants less frequently because the improved soil structure holds moisture far better. You will notice that when a brutal heat wave strikes, your plants do not wilt as quickly because their deep, healthy root systems are fully supported by the bacterial network. You are building ultimate resilience. While your neighbors are panicking over pests and drought, your garden will be thriving on complete autopilot. It is totally important to highlight how this method also drastically improves the actual flavor and nutritional value of the food you grow. If you are growing tomatoes, peppers, or herbs, the Korean soil trick is an absolute game changer for your kitchen. Chemical fertilizers pump plants full of water and rapid growth nitrogen. This creates huge vegetables, but they are often watery, bland, and completely lacking in true complex flavors. Have you ever eaten a giant supermarket strawberry that tasted like absolutely nothing? That is the sad result of chemical farming. But when a plant is grown in biologically rich, microbe-dense soil, it grows very differently. The plant is forced to slowly uptake a vast, complex array of trace minerals and organic compounds that the bacteria break down for it. These complex minerals are exactly what create deep, rich flavors and high vitamin content in the fruits and vegetables. Your tomatoes will taste intensely sweet and acidic. Your herbs will have a pungent, room-filling aroma. You are not just growing plants that are 3 times bigger. You are growing food that is exponentially healthier and more delicious. It brings the true, ancient taste of nature back to your family dinner table. So let us review the incredible journey we have just taken today. We started with ordinary cloudy water from rinsing a simple cup of kitchen rice. Instead of washing it down the drain, we captured wild microbes from the air. We fed those microbes with a splash of everyday milk, allowing them to multiply into a highly concentrated powerhouse. We separated the thick curds from the golden whey, unlocking a pure serum of lactic acid bacteria. Finally, we learned how to heavily dilute this serum using just a single tablespoon per gallon to safely drench our soil and coat our beautiful leaves. By following these simple ancient steps, you have completely bypassed the multi-billion-dollar commercial fertilizer industry. You have learned how to rehabilitate dead, salty soil into a thriving, spongy, living ecosystem. You have discovered how to protect your plants from dangerous diseases organically and how to unlock the hidden nutrients naturally present in your earth. This is the profound, beautiful wisdom of Korean natural farming. It teaches us that the greatest, most powerful tools in agriculture are not made in a laboratory. They are free, and they are waiting for an invitation to get to work. Your garden will never be the same again. The most amazing part of this entire journey is the profound realization that the ultimate garden hack has been hiding right inside your kitchen sink this whole time. You now know exactly how to turn plain rice wash water and a splash of milk into a highly potent, living serum. You know how to multiply beneficial bacteria to fight plant disease, aerate rock-hard soil, and triple your harvest without ever spending a single penny on synthetic salts again. Nature always has the best answers if we just know where to look. Thank you so much for watching and learning with me today. If you found this ancient Korean trick helpful and want to see more amazing gardening secrets, please hit that subscribe button and leave a big like on the video. Now, I have a very important question for you to answer in the comments. What is the very first plant in your home or garden that you are going to test this Korean magic water on? Drop your answers below and let us get a great discussion going.